We really feel that this is one of our better classes. It has a lot of length, and what we were trying to do is get a lot taller and a lot bigger. I think it's really imperative in this conference, and especially on the ACC Atlantic size, that you have the type of size that you need to withstand the pounding that's going on, especially on our side of the football, and especially in the ACC and college football today. So we think that we accomplished that. You want to make sure you get the right QB, and we're going to go after the right ones. If we're not fortunate enough to get those guys locked down, then we're going to go after the next guys that are the right one. I think that's a little bit more important than just having one in an early signing period. We definitely would like to have a QB in this class, but it has to be the right type of QB and not just someone that plays that position. You need to be a really good recruiter or a really good X and O guy. And if you're not one of those two things, then you better be a combination of both. And it's very, very taxing, and it's very, very difficult. And sometimes it even takes multiple personalities to get the job done well. But these guys have gone out and they've given us a solid day of work, a solid season of work, and I really stand behind this class. I think it's got a lot of the things that we're looking for. When you get a lot of old linemen and some of these other positions, it doesn't look all glamorous. But these are the guys that win football games, or these big cats that move big cats around. When you weren't as successful as you're supposed to be, these guys, the aggressive ones, they look at it like, okay, I've got an opportunity to play there. These guys are not locked in and set yet, and I want to go somewhere where I have an opportunity to play early. So I think you're exactly right, Nico, that that record, even though it's not exactly what we wanted it to be, it also alerts some guys that, hey, these guys aren't set, and I've got an opportunity to come up there and play early. And there are opportunities at Syracuse University to play early. But the main part is we want to recruit people from the state of New York that have an opportunity to line up and play in the Dome. I mean, that's my big thing. I don't want them to just be on the team and then graduate in 4 years, and the mom and the dad and the high school coach and the community never got an opportunity to play. And I think that if you look at our track record of who we brought in here, we're really trying to make that happen. Quarterback depth is always, it's changed since the transfer portal, where you normally had a good backup that's going to stick with you, that's going to be around. It's something that a lot of schools are having less and less of based off of what the quarterbacks have been doing at that position, where if they don't play, they leave. And definitely they're right, and absolutely, they're free to do that, but it's really been hurting programs across the country. If you can find a way to some kind of way have some depth just in case there's an injury, it's exactly the insurance that you need to have a fantastic season.
Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, as always, please share it. The universal handle for the socials is @Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. As always, please rate, review, and subscribe. That really helps us out, especially on iTunes. Thank you to everybody who has already done that. We will have Tyler Marona on to wrap up this year's football season, and we will go over the 2020 recruiting class for Syracuse football. And Joe's going to educate us, and this is one of his favorite shows because I will likely butcher names. And,
yes.
There's fun for all to be had. And this is one of my least favorite episodes to do because, I don't know. I just am not.
Well, I mean, because it's all
into it like Joe.
Right?
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Yeah.
I get into it, but at the end of the day, I like to be able to have these shows so that we can go over our guys a little bit and explain also to the fans how these star ratings work and how a majority of D1, especially upper D1 Power 5 schools, are made of 3-star guys, and the 4 and 5-star guys, they get spread out usually across just a handful of teams. So, yeah, I like to be able to kind of calm the fan base down on that and kind of give them something to look forward to.
Yeah, plus, I mean, it's cool to kind of get to know the names and get to know, you see someone out there and be like, oh, well, I heard about this, or, and there's going to be guys that we've already talked about during the verbal times. But,
right.
With that said, is that it? Do we just start after this?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. No other announcements. Okay, cool. All right. So, listen, here's the deal. If you want to increase your performance, get extra confidence in bed, BlueChew.com, that's blue like the color. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know it works. You can take them anytime, day or night, on a full or empty stomach, and since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as the pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. If you could benefit from extra function and more confidence when it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Blue Chew is prescribed online and ships straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than the pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners, BlueChew.com. Go there and get your first shipment free when you use the special promo code ARMCHAIR. Just pay the $5 shipping. Again, that's BLUE, chew.com. Use the special promo code ARMCHAIR and try it for free. Blue Chew is better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. And as always, these do not promise any guaranteed results, nor do they say anywhere on any of their packaging that it cures disease. So, all right, Joe.
Your stocking was stuffed with that stuff, wasn't it?
Wait, what? My stocking was stuffed with that stuff? I'm surprised
Blue
you even...
Chew.
I know, I'm surprised you even got that out. You've been sitting there for how long waiting to say that?
Not that long. Well, if you would just shut up, then it would have came out a little earlier.
All right, who wants Tyler to come on?
I do.
All right, joining us now is former Syracuse football defensive end and part-time podcaster, Tyler Marona, our good buddy. And Tyler, welcome. Welcome back, bud.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good.
What's up, how are you both?
It's been a minute, and I'm sorry we held you up there a little bit. But look, we haven't talked since Boston College, right? Well, we're getting to the football thing, but tell us what's going on with you now. What's going on? Part-time podcasting. What are we doing?
I'm not podcasting anymore. I said my goodbye just because I did like kind of a farewell tour on my podcast, which was the Trademark Podcast. And you can still listen to this one if you want. There's like still a couple more or a couple like backlogged episodes up. But in there, I was just like saying that when I started this podcast or my podcast, what I wanted to do was kind of like find sort of maybe like in a meta way, like find my calling and like what I wanted to do. And originally I thought like, oh, like I want to be an on-air personality. And then I was like, oh, well then, you know, there's this new medium of podcasting. You know, if you're any good, you can just skyrocket and then, you know, yada, yada, yada. The rest goes into place. But the fact that like I had marginal success and like I didn't want to like hang my hat on a team that I lived in Houston, Texas, trying to cover a New York sports team, like didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I didn't want to put the time and effort into like changing and not caring about a team while covering them. So what I kind of felt myself understanding was that I want to be involved like on the field with football. So right now what I'm trying to do is land a full-time football coaching job. And the tough part about that is the full-time aspect of it, because you can be a part-time coach, but you know, you got to pay the bills. So
right, exactly.
I think by the fall, at the very least, I'll be coaching part-time at high school. That's like the easy. I already have that locked in. So as long as I can, I'm trying to get something a little bit better than that in a situation that works well for me. And there's a couple colleges here in town too, so I'm not ruling that out. So there's a couple of different things. A couple pokers are in the fire, and obviously Cuse Nation, as well as you, will know minute by minute what happens on this. So we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, definitely. And you know,
Nice.
Obviously, you know, if you ever want to come on here, you can. I listened to the last episode. I think it was the last episode. It was like the farewell episode. You haven't done one since then, right?
No, I was thinking about it, but I felt too at peace to like do anything else on my feed, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. I was just like, that was it. That was good. I'm done.
Well, I will,
at least on this show.
I will officially just throw it out there now that if you ever got a rant or anything you want to come on the show, you want to record a half an hour and we'll throw it out as a bonus episode, you can do that on our platform. Obviously, you're more than welcome to do that.
Well, I'll take it a step further. It's not that you can just come on. We're going to be asking you. So
okay, there you go. Okay.
So we're not going to stop. So I mean, if you can say no, if you don't have the time, you can say no, no problem. But we will always have you on anytime, and we will be continuing to ask. So
no
Tyler,
that's fine with me.
Tyler puts out his tweet, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm done." I was actually a little shocked because I think I saw it on social media, if I'm not mistaken, first, and I'm like, "Well, wait a second. Is he still going to come on our show?"
Oh, yeah. No, that was kind of like one thing that I didn't really make mention to was that so I don't know. It's been a while actually since that happened, since the show ran. It's almost may have been like a month now. So
yeah, it's a while ago.
Yeah, so I was just thinking like I don't know if I like made mentions to the fact that like I'm totally still open as long as like there's no conflict of interest. Like if a coaching job does come up, like obviously right. I'll contribute where people would want because it's also fun. Like it's right. To me like I like guesting, so it's not like a big deal. Like I don't see it as like oh well I got to make time for this. Like that was never my thing, and that's why I got into it originally as well because I enjoy it.
And we're always on the spectrum of life happens, man. So we just go with it. So is what it is.
And the podcast, my podcast helped me understand like what I actually want to do. So that was like, I consider it a success. I don't even consider it like life happens because like I'm still employed and get a paycheck regardless. It was just like, I need to focus my spare time into now like doing what I want to do full time.
Yeah. So we haven't talked since right after we've talked, right? But you haven't been on the show since right after Boston College when we talked
Correct.
about our trip. Syracuse lost 58-27. They got stomped. We're like,
you couldn't smoke your cigars.
I did.
I had them dead and buried.
Yeah, right. And then they come back. They come back the following week, beat Duke 49-6. And
I
thoroughly enjoyed that game. That was fun. I was at it.
And Joe was at that game. Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, there's you're saying there's a chance. I mean, there was.
Oh, totally.
The light was still shining, right? We come up one game short though. All in all, kind of a disappointment. But I mean, what are your final thoughts though? Going at the end of the season, beating Wake at home on senior day. And ending it at least with a good win there with, Trill Williams pickpocketing a dude and taking it straight to the house when he didn't even have to, but he did it anyway, and that's just beautiful.
I know, that was great. That capped off, I think that was that play in and of itself was the exclamation point on like the biggest question mark of like all time. It was like, what did we just watch? Like there was two different teams.
Yeah,
there was honestly a first half of the season team and a second half of the season team. And they both leave me with more questions than I have answers to. Because like that play in and of itself, you're like, that's it. That's our secondary. Like that is what we thought we had all year.
Right.
You're like, and then you're like, well, okay, so now you guys have to now explain what the hell did I just watch on every other week? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, like, I have more questions than answers, unfortunately. But I was reading that, and I like to get maybe like one article in a month now in Syracuse, just because, like, sometimes when I see something, I'll like kind of take it differently. But Nate Mink was writing about how like 5-7 was still an improvement on every other season but one. The one season was just like a huge outlier. So it's still kind of funny that like a 5-7 season is still improvement from the last like 6 years other than our 10-win season. So it's like, okay, well, do I have to take it with a grain of salt and be like, well, it's still improvement over Coach Schaefer. Like as total wins go, like Dino has more. So like but like obviously we're not satisfied with that. And that's kind of where it's like, okay, well, is this really this? Are we now hitting the rebuild? Like, I don't know. It's just like there's a lot going on, and I think with that last game and the last 3 games of being 2-1, I don't know. What do you got? What did you guys say?
Well,
I want to bounce it off.
My thoughts are very simple. I did not want to go 4-8. That's all.
That was great.
5-7 is fine with me.
No. Well, that was other than the outlier that Tyler talked about.
Right.
That was the best season since the Texas Bowl with Terrell
man.
Hunt. So
Which is going on right now, by the way, in Houston.
Yeah.
So,
and when you looked at it, when I looked at it, it was that offensive line change. When they changed Cervais and Vettorello, you saw them running the ball a lot better. The last 3 games, they pounded the rock. I think the way that I thought we all kind of thought. I mean, they run like that, then you probably win your Mo Neal bet, Tyler.
I was just going to say that.
Those last
I was
3.
this close. I was this
Those
close.
last 3. So, I mean, realistically, when you look at it, if maybe they weren't ready 4 or 5 weeks prior when they were playing NC State and Pittsburgh, some of the winnable games that could have got us to bowl eligibility. But
For sure.
I do see that we're only losing Evan Adams on the line. And I think that's the last couple games, I think, is more of the team that we're going to see next year, going into next year. And I know that the fans don't want to hear that, and we'd love to be playing a bowl game now instead of talking about next year. But you always got to look at the silver lining. And again, just didn't want to go 4-8. Not again.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, you look at Mo Neal's season, wasn't terrible. I mean, he was 154 yards away.
No, I think we were closer. Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but he did have over 1,000 yards combined.
Yeah, combined,
testing
yes.
in all purpose, right? But I think we were more close on Mo Neal than we were Abdul Adams.
Absolutely.
Jarvian Howard,
That's been weird. The Abdul Adams thing is weird to me.
wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
Jarvian Howard ended up outrushing him, and we didn't see him the second half of the year. So,
But Jarvion to me is actually good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I actually think that he was underutilized most of the season, and I actually think he's better than Abdul just entirely. I'm always really leery about transfers, and we'll get to another one here in a second.
yes,
but
we will.
they transfer for a reason. They're not here because oh, actually I messed up and I should have picked Syracuse all along. That's
Right.
not we just don't get 5-star guys, right? The last 5-star guy we got from Oklahoma, he was awful. I mean, just terrible, right? So yeah. And but also the last guy that you forgot to mention on the O-line, Bergeron, actually good as well. So
Yes.
there's another addition that he actually did. He's actually pretty good, and the fact that he's young, and actually everybody's pretty young. It's pretty good time to be alive as far as future projections. But as far as 2019 was concerned, that doesn't help us at all.
No, I mean, it is what it is. What are your thoughts on, obviously, the news broke yesterday, I believe, Tristan Jackson going to enter the NFL draft, and obviously, you can't hate on that. The dude had a phenomenal year, and, he led in touchdowns, obviously leading receiver, and we wish him all the best. Talented guy.
I was going to hit this up as a surprise kind of buy, sell, or hold with
Tristan
Jackson.
present it.
Is Tristan Jackson getting drafted? Buy, sell, or hold?
No, I don't think
geez.
so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of speculation that he's good. He played really well for us this one year, and that it might just be a little early. So,
well, I think he ran one route really well, and that ended up getting him all of his touchdowns, which is fine. I didn't personally. I thought that he was a guy that definitely was going to just come back, but my first thought initially, ironically, was we're finally in the football offseason. Our leading receiver is moving on again. I was just great. It's just it was just what happens. You don't stay. But
what gets under a kid's skin to just make him do this? I mean, he's got people chirping in his ear. I mean, because you.
No, I don't think so. I think even practice squad money is so much better than just getting no money that it's at some point, but a guarantee contract is a lot better, being a fourth rounder and getting, your first 2 years guaranteed. That's great. But to him, he must have just seen this is all it's probably going to be in his mind. It's this maybe is all it's going to be again next year too. And if you're scared about that, then you might as well just move on.
Right. So you think he might have thought that, this is quite possible, that he might not do any better next year.
No, I mean, sell when the stock's high, right?
Right.
Right,
That's what I'm
totally.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and all
unless-
of our top receivers previously have gotten drafted or signed and stayed with teams, and got multiple opportunities. So
Right. And also came out of nowhere
Yeah.
That's
for the
the
most
other
part,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Yeah,
I do think this kid's a stud, though. I think Tristan Jackson is a stud. I mean,
I think he's a great athlete. Yeah,
he
He's a
is.
great
man.
He is.
He is.
If he doesn't go to the combine and kill the measurables, though, he's not getting drafted. That's just.
well, I 100% agree, but I think that he's the type of athlete that could go there. Colin Cowherd is like, he loves to talk about, man, he looks great with his shirt off.
Right.
I couldn't say that myself, so I had to say that another guy said it. So, but it's funny. I listened to Colin Cowherd like every day when I was in high school, and I swear he talked about guys shirtless all the time. So I was just, it's like stuck in my mind.
Well,
Right.
Okay.
So, but he's that's the type of guy that goes to the combine and does well, and maybe
Sure.
makes himself 2 years worth of pay.
Maybe. Yeah. It's possible.
I
mean,
don't know.
Obviously, we wish him the best, but all right. I mean, we just had to touch up on it. It caught me a little by surprise.
Me too.
Taj Harris, he's another good receiver. I mean, he could step up and fill. I think he's good enough to fill that void. I mean,
Well, we're getting
So-
another 6'5" guy.
Yeah.
I almost said in the draft, but in our class.
yeah,
Yes.
So, Custis 2.0.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm thinking.
there you go.
Yeah, he had pretty good offer sheets. So we got a couple receivers coming in from Florida, but that 6'5" guy, yeah.
He's going to be our bell cow, presumptually.
Yeah, and we were going to hit on it later on in the podcast when we go over the players, but I was talking to Sean, and I said, I wonder if this news would have broken earlier, if this maybe would have switched some of the other bigger receivers that didn't
Possibly.
choose us, right? I mean,
Possibly.
Yeah. Well, who was the big one, Joe?
well, that one on signing day was what Kentron Poitier that
Yeah,
picked.
yeah,
It was
Poitier,
choosing
yeah,
between
yeah.
us, Florida, and Florida State. So it was a long shot anyway, but he's got two high school teammates that are on
Yeah.
Syracuse. So I think that was
Right.
what kept him kind of there.
Two
So,
safeties.
Right.
For sure.
All right. So this brings me to, well, we might as well just piggyback off the offense. Tyler.
Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who if you
All
had to
right.
choose, I'm going to ask you one for each side of the ball here, just so you know.
Okay.
Who would your offensive player of the year be? Oh, really caught him off guard. That's tough. I know.
I mean, it's just like,
What,
it's hard to
This could be a
reward
fan favorite.
poor
This could be-
behavior.
right. Okay.
That's really because I was thinking, like, is it the center for just snapping at every play? It's like, what do I think? And but I think ultimately, to me, it's probably like, if we didn't have Mo this year, I think we would have just been awful. So the fact that like he created, he pulled rabbits out of hats. He had over 1,000 yards. And he was really the guy that suffered the most out of, I mean, Tommy probably did more so than him, actually, now that I think about it. But
right.
I think out of personal gain, or like as much to gain as what I perceived that Mo lost, I think he made the biggest sacrifice this year out of anybody on the team. So in that respect, I would give him Offensive Player of the Year, just out of like courtesy.
Yeah. I mean, he averaged 5.5 yards a carry. So
That's unreal.
Actually, I'm sorry. He averaged 5 yards a carry, 5.5 from scrimmage. So, but 5 yards a carry, that's awesome. You just run the ball with Mo Neal, you win the game every time.
No, but we were down so much in so many games, and
That's the thing.
Yeah.
it's just he didn't get the carries that he normally would have gotten, and I think obviously we know that our offensive line was suspect as hell for the first 2/3 of the season. So, again, I'm kind of right there with him, because without Mo Neal maybe being able to be in there and be that senior guy that can call. I mean, I know it looked bad, but imagine somebody who didn't know the playbook as well as Mo Neal and didn't have that senior. I mean, it could have been way. I mean, I don't want to say it could have been way worse, but I mean,
it could have been.
It was bad, but it could have been worse.
I mean, you talk about.
If you want to go stats, you can throw Tristan Jackson in there because him alone with his big plays kept us in some games, and he always had that thought in his mind, like we could just get a pass downfield in some of those closer games earlier. But overall, I think going with what Tyler said, I think that's probably fair with Mo Neal.
I agree, and I also agree. Tristan Jackson, led the team with 11 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, over 1,000 yards receiving. So, average 15.5 yards a catch.
And I know people hate on Tommy, but can we give him a little bit of credit?
Look, Tommy did great, dude. 137.7 rating, too, by the way, for Tommy DeVito. That's awesome.
What? Repeat
Yes.
Yes, and he was in the upper
63.2% passing, 2,360 yards, 19 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. If I told you he had 5 interceptions, would you even believe that?
How many fumbles did he have, though? I feel like that's what people hated him for. Because that was some of the errors, though. I think is like
there were some bad errors, but they were mostly early.
Tristan left a lot on the table too this year. That's to me, where I was like, that was the difference between a guy like Steve Ishmael per se and Tristan was that you can think back to Steve and think of 3 plays where you're like, dude, those were an NFL type player makes those plays. Tristan had 0 of those plays, and that's why I'm like, I can't go all the way.
He had some
on
bad
Tristan,
drops too.
And that's the other thing is that there were errors that I remember.
Yeah,
so that's the big thing for me, being like, there's no, PFF wouldn't clip him and put him on.
Right.
That's kind of how I determine.
Yeah,
but with Tommy, when you look at Tommy, you look at the stats comparable to the other ACC quarterbacks, then he's in the upper, half. And on top of that, I thought that we did see a little bit of growth with the mistakes. He did fumble a lot early, but I think he got better. And I think we all knew that he was dealing with some injuries. So,
he's been dealing with an injury since week 3.
And I'm talking more to his attitude because, just a year ago, I believe it was a year ago, we saw Francois for Florida State sit there and just throw a tantrum on the field because he was getting sacked, right? So
he wouldn't even accept.
He could have been a worse person and been out there, and he could have been showing up his teammates, and he could have been talking about but he stayed. He's not a professional, but he stayed kind of professional in that moment, and he never threw any of his teammates under the bus or under the table. And he worked to get better. So
no, he stayed composed.
Kudos to him because a worse person could have made that situation way worse.
Yeah, the one play that Francois had when he kept getting sacked against Syracuse last year was when his offensive lineman went down to give him a hand to help him up, and he's like, "Get the hell out of here, man!"
Yep.
he shoot him away. He was like, "Get the hell out of here!" That's how bad that got.
Yeah, well, those are the guys that have never, they have never been sacked in their life.
Yeah, they don't.
What is this? This is outrageous. No, he didn't even have that. He was just week 1, here we go. It's that was kind of the way it was going to be.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, we got our offensive player. I think Mo Neal reigns. Obviously, we all 3 would have picked, but Tristan Jackson, close second. Defensive player of the year. Tyler, you first, buddy.
Well, my favorite player on the team.
Yeah, you can go favorite. You can go favorite.
So, that's just my favorite dude. I was, glad to meet him when I visited. He and Tommy were actually walking into the facility at the same time. And Tommy kind of gave me a look. I don't know if he actually knows who I am or if he was upset at me for clowning him at some point or who knows, whatever. But he was all biz, just walked straight past me. And I was like, "Hey, Kendall, what's up? I'm Tyler. I'm sorry I make fun of you all the time on the internet." But he was cool about it. So that was cool. And then Welch, I think he knew who I was because he saw me and he's like, his eyes bugged out of his head. And I was like, "What's going on?" So anyway. But I think my favorite player would be, or defensive player of the year would probably be Kendall, just because his run force and even his pass rushing to, in large part, gave our offense some opportunity to stay in some games. And Alton was just getting triple teamed all year. So, I mean, credit to him for sticking with it as well. But, I thought that both Kendall and Alton should have been Senior Bowl invitees. But, it is what it is.
Right.
I mean, I loved towards the end of the year, and I already told Joe this, I loved Lakeem Williams just coming on, man. He was awesome at the end of the year. And his Twitter handle is QB Nightmare. And
oh, yeah.
I mean, how perfect is that? Because he was freaking awesome this year. And I hated to see him. I hate to see him go. So he was my favorite.
I wanted to bring up that we were way off in our sack predictions.
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's
just to
right.
Go back. It's always great to go back in hindsight.
We said like above 10, right? For
it was
Kendall
higher
Coleman,
than
right?
that,
For each,
I think we had a total on like 27 total sacks.
Something. It was yeah.
Well, Lakeem Williams led with 4.5.
Yeah, it was a bad year, man.
Yeah, and I thought
it
looked like to me our secondary regressed a little bit. You can blame injuries a little bit on that, but more or less, I mean, when you watch the defense, it was hard to not see Lakeem Williams just all over the field. I mean, it was even when I was at Duke, when you're at a game watching, and
he was awesome, dude.
He was all over the place. Yeah. So I would have to go him, but I do think that Kendall Coleman obviously was a pivotal piece to try to. They kept it together.
Yeah.
As far as on the defensive line. So.
Yeah. So, when we looked at the year at the in the beginning, and we had we were so Joe just mentioned how far off we were on everything. The biggest disappointment of the year, I think we can all agree. I mean, it was the outcome of the year, right? We can all we at least expected a bowl game. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
that's it for me.
Very fair to say.
It's not being in a bowl game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but and I think we can all agree with that. But was there any surprises? Was there anything that you didn't expect that was a positive? And this one's tough because I thought of this and I'm still thinking of it, to be quite honest with you. But I mean, what do you guys think?
I love that we used the tight end this year, and I hope that continues to grow. I love how the NFL uses a tight end as a mainstay, as like to basically cut the field in half. And then you have, different route trees or different combos on either side. And then the Dallas Cowboys have been doing this for like a million years. You just run the guy for 10 yards and he's
Jason
always
Witten.
open. Yeah. Just do that. Like, I mean, I don't know.
I'm a Giants fan, so
and you know better than anybody. Like he's just always open. So and then we got Luke Benson, who can really run, and I think that he's going to be a super threat down the middle. I like Hackett.
True freshman, he was very impressive.
Yeah, Benson. So I mean, I like where that's going. I hope that we can explore that more as Tommy gets protection. I really still think that he can definitely be more of an even distributor as time goes on. I think that's the best Tommy that we get. And then, but it was good to feel vindicated that we do have good tight ends on the roster, for the first time in a long time, quite frankly.
Yeah. And they used him well too. There's a bunch of times where it's a go-to, especially on third down or goal line stuff. Too, so. And
that's something to look forward to too, right? Because when you look at the offensive side of the ball, who we losing? Now that Tristan Jackson, but before he even announced, it was Mo Neal, and it was Evan Adams. That's it on the line. So as far as something that was positive to me that was unexpected was after 2/3 of the year, them making a couple switches after we lost Alexander. They bring in Bergeron, they move Vettorello to center and Cervais to left tackle. So again, all we need to do is replace one offensive lineman, and that kind of the difference was the positive thing for me. The last 3 games of being able to have some type of running game to be able to balance out the offense so you don't just put it all on Tommy's arm. That's the positive to me going into next year, and I truly believe that the offense is going to be – we're not going to see the same offense next year.
Yeah, way too early predictions, guys, okay? Do we go – and I'm going to make this easy. I'm going to make it easy. Stop laughing, okay? Calm down. Do we advance 5 and 7 next year?
Like you're setting the over under at 5.5 wins.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was quick. It was very good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, not for sure, actually, after what, I had us, playing, on the last game of the season before
I
this
think
year.
I said
So
Orange Bowl. I think I said possible Orange Bowl, okay? So
I said possible playoff, so, who knows? Yeah, dark horse playoff team. We beat Clemson, anything's on the table.
oh, jeez.
You know what sucks, man, are both men that you guys are. There's a good coach at every school now in our in our division, not the conference, because the conference, the other side of the conference is an absolute disaster, which is just, it sucks so much that we don't get to play on that side.
Right.
But
I know.
long story short,
watch out for North Carolina.
they're going to be good, but like everybody else is like, a little bit above average at best.
Right.
So that whole grouping doesn't scare me at all, because whoever we get from that side, actually, I think Georgia Tech is going to be really good in a couple of years with the way they're recruiting right now. But again, like there's just too many good coaches in our division.
I think that might be our crossover, by the way. So
say that again, Joe.
I said I think Georgia Tech is our crossover next year, because we always play Pitt.
Yeah.
You're probably right. So
It's better to get them 2 years after the Paul Johnson era than 4 or 5 or 6. Because
totally
they're
agree,
getting
man.
recruiting class. They're getting top 25 recruiting classes. They're in a hotbed.
That's the thing, is that yeah, man, like it was insane that they've been bad. Like I don't know how that program was run like that, because it's just so ripe for the taking. And like it's a very safe, and they did have a good hire, but you got to know that the triple option's never winning you a national title unless you're in 1910, which we're not. So that's that thing. But anyway, I think 6-6 is on the table as far as absolutely we win half our games next year. Because I don't think we treat non-conference the way that we did this year. Like this year, it felt like we just limped through. Maryland destroyed us. Like I don't think any of that happens again next year.
Okay.
So, if we trade a win here and there, I think we can do a little bit better. But I'm really afraid of what Florida State can become again with their new coach. I think that they're going to be fantastic. Louisville is proving to be one of the best jobs in the country. Are one of the best programs in the country, because if you just don't have a guy that's an absolute, just off the rails wild man coaching it, they're right back to being in contention in the conference again. So
yeah, without skipping a beat too. By the way, I mean,
and that's and like it's crazy. They're a well-oiled machine. We always have to play Pitt. They're going to be competitive. We just have a tough schedule, man. We have just the most brutal schedule, and as far as conference goes, but I think that the team rises to that level of at least being comfortably mid-tier in the conference. Like we shouldn't be at the bottom again.
And if we start off the year the way that we were running the ball at the end of the year this year, then I think that's going to be the helpful. And another thing to look forward to, I was checking it out. Definitely Georgia Tech is our crossover at home next year. Okay. And looking in the non-conference, at Rutgers.
Oh no!
Nice.
Are you serious?
Yep. First game of the season at Rutgers.
Oh my gosh!
Home against Colgate.
Who's Rutgers?
Okay.
Then at Western Michigan, and then home against Liberty. So
a Liberty again.
Favorable.
Wow, we did.
That's
it.
It's a favorable. Yeah, me too. And to me, that's better than the non-conference schedule we've seen in many, many years. So
many years. Yeah, that to me screams 4-0. I love that we get to go play Shiano Man at Rutgers. It's going to be awesome. When he said that they were going to be number one in the country at some point, I sent that to all my friends. Like, I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, he said that recently.
Yeah, he said that like how Coach Babers, how every coach does like we're gonna stand in the half court of the basketball game, your first one after you get hired and do the pep rally. Yeah, he did that, and he said because of you, that's why we're gonna be number one. That was that.
That's hilarious.
That was it.
I'll tell you what, man. He took that region over and took some guys from us back in the day, and I hope that doesn't come to fruition again.
Hey, the Big Ten goes through Piscataway. Just write it down.
Just like the ACC goes through Syracuse, right?
Absolutely. You got it. So 6-6, yeah, I think 6-6 is fair. That's a fair. And you know what? You know, it's kind of cool about that too is that it's an improvement, so we can actually be happy about that.
Right. Like we couldn't just go from 4-8 to like 5-7 and work our way up.
Right.
We had to go from
one game at a
4-8 to 10-2 or whatever the hell it was ended up being. You know, and it's like it screwed us up. It screwed us up really bad. And you know, we said it a number of times. We said a number of times that coach was like telling us to pump the brakes, and he just didn't want to come out and say pump the brakes, but he was saying pump the brakes. He was like, you know, let's ease up, guys, ease up, and no one wanted to listen to him.
Well, barring any crazy injuries, I think at this point this year or next year we'll be watching them play a bowl game versus talking about 2021.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think we should be playing like today. I think the 20 like in one of the bowl games today. You know, like not like one of the bottom tier ones, like the Shreveport Bowl, like yesterday. Did you watch that game, by the way?
Dude,
that's the worst game ever.
Are you talking about Miami, Louisiana Tech?
Yes.
God.
Oh my gosh, 14 to nothing.
14-0 Yeah, I had that on at work because I had nothing else to do. I was like, oh,
I caught
so
it,
bad.
I caught it halfway through, and I'm like, La Tech? What the hell's going on here?
La Tech, you know, they're definitely the best of like their little grouping, but like, come on,
0 points.
0 points.
0 points.
0. Yeah.
0 points.
Yeah. That was sad, but
didn't know Louisiana Tech was known for their defense, but
yeah,
they actually have put guys in the league. Ironically, again, you know, like they are the best of their grouping, but it was justified that their coordinator got fired today.
Isn't that where Terry Bradshaw played?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second.
That guy's awful.
Did Terry Bradshaw play at La Tech with Phil Robertson?
Yeah, with the Duck Dynasty guy.
Yeah, Phil Robertson. Yeah.
My fiance's dad played baseball at La Tech.
Oh, no kidding.
There we go.
There you go. Was drafted as well. So they had another claim to fame.
Nice.
Boom.
All right. Well, look, that's about all of Tyler and Joe I could handle. I don't know about you guys. But
okay, real quick, did you guys touch on the recruiting class at all? I haven't been.
We are super deep. You can give your thoughts
a little bit after you.
Yeah. We're gonna piggyback on the recruiting class after this and put it all together as one. But you can feel free to give your thoughts. Go ahead.
I actually watched a couple of guys tape this year, which I feel really good about myself for doing that because this is the first time I've ever really cared. Because it's like having a bad pro team. All you got to do is scout, you know, the next round of talent coming in. So, whereas last year I was very fixated on the actual, you know, team at hand, you know, the scholarship guys. But I think that there's a couple guys that are a little underrated in this class that could prove out to be really good. But I don't know overseas football, and I also don't know Canadian football.
Right.
Like they're saying the guy for Oklahoma State, the running back, Chuba Johnson
Hubbard?
or whatever his name, Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, he ran for 28,000 yards in Canada or something like that. It's like, okay, well, how can I take that seriously? But he's also an All-American in D1, so I don't know.
They're beating in Texas A&M right now.
So look, you know, hey, I don't know. But those are the only guys I don't know. Like, you know, German players, I can't know until I know. But I think, you know, from the guys that we did get, I think all the Florida guys, the Miami guys, they look great. And then the Northeastern guys too. I'm really glad that it seems like we addressed one position of need at least. You know, we signed one guy almost everywhere, that's a balanced class because we need balance just moving forward in general, just depth at every position. So
yeah. I like how they the running backs they got. There was a little bit of the lightning and the thunder, and I think that we've seen that with Babers and the way that he's gotten the Jarvion Howards and the Juar Jordans, and he's
totally
you know what type of running backs he's going to get. They brought in a tight end from CNY who seems to kind of fit right in the mold with Hackett and some of the other guys. But one of the guys that I liked, and me and Sean were going to hit up a lot, was Justin Barron from Connecticut there. They say he's listed as a 4 position. He could play receiver, tight end, defensive back, or what was he, 6'4", 210 or something, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he could play linebacker. And when you watch his tape, it's
anything.
Yeah, but I feel like he kind of gets a bad rap because he plays in Connecticut, right? So I don't know.
But his quarterback, he was a 4 or 5 star guy at his high school, so it's like you can't.
Right.
But I don't get these guys, man. Like, I don't know. Like, Chandler Jones was like unranked. Justin Pugh was unranked. It's like, I don't know. I played against guys in high school that were 4 and 5 star guys that didn't even play at their respective college teams. That happens all the time here in Texas. I think that Coach Bayers has given me enough to go on the fact that, like, we can kind of guess what the level of talent that he's bringing in is. Like, if that means, like, we can kind of project, like, okay, we should be about this good with these players. Like, to make the next step, we'd have to go up a little bit in recruiting to really get there. But in order to get there, you have to win with lesser talent at some point for a higher rated recruit to trust you. But we're actually getting some of those guys that are tweener guys that are ranked really high 3 stars that in my mind, when I watch them, like a Barron, you're like, if this guy was only a free safety or only, a Z receiver, then maybe he's better, and then he flashes more at that one position. But I think coach is just like, a guy that can play 6 positions. Let's go. Like, what if I just stand him up and rush him off the edge? Like, like who knows what he would do? Right. Can he take snaps under center? I don't know. Like, I need something out of this guy.
Right. Or if he played in the state of Florida and he showed out just like he did, and would he be a 4-star? What would his ranking be? Right.
If he was running past guys in Miami, just the same as he was in Connecticut, then you think, okay, well, it gives you better context. That's all. We're lacking context.
Right.
And
that's
kind of the big thing.
One of the same. I mean, Irv Phillips came from Connecticut, right? And
he was awesome. I loved Irv.
Right. Oh, yeah, 100%. And he came out as a running back, and they turned him into a slot receiver. He ended up making it in the NFL, right? He was on the roster with Tampa Bay. So I think some of those Northeast guys, sometimes they get a little bit of a bad rap just based upon the region and the competition that they play, and also hitting on what you're talking about with not rated and stuff. A lot of fans don't understand that a lot of these recruiting services don't rank everybody. They have camps and they go to certain states, but Ben LeBrosse, one of the safeties that we got out of Quebec, Montreal, he was non-rated. I remember he committed, and everyone's like, "Oh, non-rated this." Well, since we got signed, now the recruiting service went and they rated him. They checked him out. They recruited him. They had him as an 87. He was a high, almost a 4-star. Right. So it's like these little things, but he had offers from nobody else. So it's like you see these little things, and and fans just don't understand it. And I know that you've been through it, and you understand it a lot more than even I do, and especially the fans. So, but it is very hard when you get these 3 stars. It's you can't just. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be an NFL player, or you can't be comparable to another 5-star somewhere else. Is all I'm 100%.
Saying, so. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the best example I can give, or the only example I'll give, is like the best player I ever played against, or the best lineman I played against. Our best 2. One was like a 3-star, and he played at Oregon State for Coach Kavanaugh. Yeah. And the other guy, he was probably like 5'11", but it was just like a very good football player. I don't even think he played college football. Like, he just didn't get any love because he was 5'11". Right. But he was legitimately like better than some of the guys that I played with at Cuse because he was just so good at playing football. Like, he just didn't care that he was short. Right. And, so he probably, I don't know. I'd have to go check and see if that guy played anywhere in college, but he was really good because he was like 5'11", but he had to have had like a 7-foot wingspan. The guy like poked me in the eye one play, and I was like on the ball. So, and that just goes to show, because I would look up everybody in high school being like, hey, like, who am I going against? Is there anybody that's good? Because I would want to go against that guy and be like, hey, I want to put this guy on my tape, and then yada yada. And then you're
building your resume, yeah. So
totally, yeah. So I mean, I would look into it, and most of the time it was complete like up in the air stuff. Like, it was just pure conjecture. So.
Oh, with that said,
now have you had enough, Sean?
Sorry.
With that said, Tyler, thanks for coming on, buddy. We appreciate it. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come on anytime. You got my number. All you got to do is let me know if you're feeling the itch or whatever you want to do. You know that. So we appreciate it. Love your insight. And good luck. Whatever you're going to be doing, you got all winter to work on it, in summer, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
so-
it's actually going to be decided a little bit sooner than later. So
Well, that's good.
hopefully that's
Anything you
because if I don't get a spot at one college here locally, then it's just going to be probably one of two high schools. So it's like if the one domino doesn't fall, it's a pretty easy line to see where it ends up.
gotcha.
So
Well, that's cool, man. Well, everybody obviously wishes you
Yeah,
luck
man.
on
Good luck.
that. So, and you're welcome back anytime. So, thank you, Tyler, and we'll talk to you later, buddy.
tell your cat I said goodbye.
Otto, Tyler says goodbye.
Well, you had him in your hand a second ago, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that he knew that I noticed him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cat lover. All right, we are going to get into the 2020 recruiting class for Syracuse football. But first, as always, we are going to hear from the good folks over at MyBookie, past, present, and future MyBookie players. Pay attention. If you have bet online before with another sports book, try MyBookie out. I've got a promo code for you to use. If you have not bet before online, go ahead, check it out, see if it's right for you. But once you decide it's right for you, join MyBookie. It doesn't matter whether you're an experienced player or a first-time customer, MyBookie welcomes all that come to play. So quit waiting around and sign up today. If you find yourself maybe you have some questions or things like that, well, don't worry about it. MyBookie's patient customer service team can walk you through any question that you have. And the best part is if you join now, you log on to mybookie.ag today and you make your first deposit using the promo code CHAIR, that's CHAIR, MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar to jumpstart that bankroll. One more time, that's mybookie.ag. Sign up today. Use the promo code CHAIR, and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar to jumpstart that bankroll up to $1,000. As always, folks, as if you didn't already know, MyBookie.ag. Thanks. You play, you win, you get paid. All right, Joe.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, let's talk some recruits. So,
Let's do it.
according to 247 Sports, this recruiting class is ranked 56th in the nation, 10th in the ACC. That doesn't hold a ton of water. It's just something to gauge it with. So, you never know. Could be worse, could be a whole lot better. So some of the top commits were Damian Alfred, wide receiver, Stephen Marr, tight end, and Latier Kinsler Jr. He is a defensive end linebacker. And, there were some notables, I guess, Joe. Chris Blake, one or the other, offensive line transfer. Now, he's not going to get to play. He's going to have to sit out, but he will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Class of 2018 originally was a 3-star recruit out of Pennsylvania. He started 8 games for Florida, but he transferred after losing. He entered the portal after losing his starting job.
Yeah, well, he is obviously somebody that it's probably going to be able to come in and help right away. You're talking about a guy that's over 300 pounds. He was in at Florida for full 2 years with his red shirt. And as far as him being ready, I think they are putting in a waiver, some type of something to see if he can't play immediately, because I do know they were saying that he moved closer to home because of I think medical family stuff. So,
so he might
sometimes the NCAA allows those type of things to. No, I'd hope so. I mean, they're letting quarterbacks just play without sitting out just because they don't get the starting job at their school. So, if a player has got a legit, reason to train.
How do you feel about this sitting out rule? How do you feel about it personally?
I just think that they have to figure out cut and dry, make it easy so that people know one way or another. We shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't be one of these things where we put in a waiver or you put in some type of something and it's
people
basically up to that. Right. It's a people opinion thing. Right. So if somebody's moving because of family medical issues and they want to move 3 hours closer to home, because he is from Pennsylvania. So Syracuse University's 3 hours from his hometown compared to Florida. Then I think that that's a better reason for someone to not have to sit out for a year than just somebody transferring because they didn't win the starting job.
Yeah, I mean, let's either have the rule or not have the rule. And
Right.
and to be quite honest with you, even if it was black or white, I don't necessarily like the rule.
People can have their own opinion about it. The way I look at it is that you just got to cut and dry and make it. You got to make it kind of cut and dry as far as
either it's a rule or it's
what
not.
it is.
Right.
Totally. Yeah, you have the rules and you kind of know. It shouldn't just be left up for debate and the bias and the favoritism that go on in the NCAA.
Yeah, exactly. And some other big news for this 2020 recruiting class was Syracuse building a pipeline to Europe, to Germany. Two Germans, 3-star JUCO offensive tackle Mark Petrie. He's a German native, obviously, and he spent a year at Ellsworth Community College, but he committed to Eastern Michigan in November, but we pried him away, obviously. So,
right.
And then Maximilian Mang, the other one here. This is kind of a big one, I think. I mean, he's a maniac, anyway. So actually, two things. Syracuse was the only one to really extend an offer to Maximilian, but in Mark Petrie, these guys really aren't rated because they're from Germany, so there's really nothing to go off of other than their size, right, Joe? I mean,
Petrie was he played in a community college, but it wasn't. I don't think a really known community college. Again, sometimes these guys from Europe, they sometimes lack the credits to be able to get to a university. So a lot of times you got to go the community college way, but that is not the case for Maximilian Mang. So yeah, hey, you never know. I mean, I looked at it. There's between PPI recruits, it's basically the biggest European recruit service that they have, and there's a lot of. I went and checked it out. There's a lot of countries involved. I mean, you're talking Belgium, Sweden, Czechoslovakia. I mean, there's Czech Republic. There's recruiting guys. There's guys that go out there and they try to find athletes that may have outgrown their nation's sport and try to introduce them to this sport and try to get them into universities. And they're trying to, obviously do the things that they did with Maximilian Mang. And there's names out there that we haven't, heard of, and it's happened before. But yeah, it's very interesting. I guess it's one of those things where you really never know, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Germany. I mean, it's just out of the order. It's not your,
Well, for a while there was NFL Europe, so there was a lot of NFL stuff up there, and I mean NFL is growing all over the place and all over the world. We play in England, we play in Mexico City now, so obviously there's the CFL, and then we've been getting Canadian recruits for however many years. So it's growing, and it's interesting to watch and interesting to see on that website if you go check it out on the PPI recruits. Just all the different countries that actually are involved and where these kids actually are from. So you never really know how big it's going to grow. But just like soccer, lacrosse, some of the other things that have grown in our country, I think that's a sport that's growing worldwide. And I don't know, maybe we're onto something. Maybe it's something that we can get ahead of the curve and help us out.
Let's see. There was a lot of pretty decent recruits signed. There was a couple that we missed out on. Wide receiver Kentron Poitier. He was down to Syracuse, Florida State. And on last Wednesday, obviously, he ended up picking the Seminoles. So he also had offers from Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Auburn, Tennessee, Virginia. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. A lot of good schools offered this kid. So kind of a big miss, but a position where, I don't know, we're okay.
No, I'll tell you what. I mean, yeah, but I mean, just recently, Tristan Thompson, obviously
Tristan
Jackson, he declared to the NFL draft. So obviously that's a lot of targets and receptions that are going to have to be replaced. And, it's hard for me sometimes to think, I try to think differently and stuff like that, because we did lose a lot of, on top of Kentron Poitier, we lost him, the day of, early signing day. But going before that, we lost Malik Mega to Penn State. We lost Bryce Gowdy to Georgia Tech. We lost Vine, I think it was Cornelius Vines, to Iowa. So some of our top-rated receivers that we had targeted and that were interested in us, they didn't choose us, and it would have been interesting to see if they maybe would have if they knew that Tristan Jackson wouldn't be there this year. So
yeah, I mean,
don't really like the
right?
timing on that, but obviously, it's just as a fan being being selfish as a fan, because obviously Tristan Jackson has all the the choice in the world to be able to choose that. So
yeah, and also another one that was, I mean, notable was Akeem Messidor. He was out of Canada, or Ontario. So 3-star linebacker. He ended up picking West Virginia. So
yep, and we lost a couple defensive linemen. We lost a lot of our guys to the Penn States and Pittsburghs of the world. Some of the regional guys that could have pushed this class a little bit higher, maybe into the top high 40s, mid 40s, and maybe down to the single digits of the ACC. But overall, I thought that we did good to identify our next level guys and get those guys. So as these recruiting 247 Sports, when you look at it, when you read these guys off and you start talking about the ratings, just keep in mind that a 3-star is a rating anywhere between an 80 and an 89. So that's going to give you the scale of how close they were to a 4-star, or how close they were to a bottom level 3-star, maybe 2-star. So just keep that in mind when we go through these ratings, because it kind of tells a little bit of a story too.
You hear, 3-star, 3-star, 3-star. Well, it's actually pretty decent. So another disappointment, and we're going to we'll move on from the disappointments first. I'm trying to get these out of the way.
Right.
UNC transferred Cade Fortin. He decided to commit to University of South Florida. So,
wasn't even on his top 3.
Yeah, which is weird. So, I mean, he had offers from Vanderbilt and Kansas, and apparently South Florida. So, he chose there. He wants to play. I feel like that's probably obviously the main reason for that.
Right.
But we did not pick up a quarterback in the early signing period.
Yeah, he left North Carolina because he wanted to play, right? So
yeah, exactly. So anyway, one more thing, Chase Atkinson. He was a verbal commit, defensive back, and he's a 3-star prospect as well. He is waiting until February to sign, and he committed to the Orange verbally back in July, but he is going to he decided to hold off. So we will not count our chickens before the eggs hatch. So just for the hell of it here, 0 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, 3 defensive backs, and 1 kicker. So, was he a punter? We'll find
he's
out.
Both.
Yeah, okay.
He's a kicker, so that's punter. That's how Huff Richter came in too.
Okay, so there was also Charles Bell, which we already talked about, which is why, as a decommit, that's why I didn't really get into that. So, at the
that one hurt a little.
That one hurt a little bit, but we already wiped our tears from that, right? So,
yep.
I'm going to do these two as a duo, Joe. I'm Sean, but there is another Sean. I'm looking at his name right here. It's Sean Tucker.
Talking in the first person.
5'10", 190, ranking 900, 3-star, 86 overall rating according to 247 Sports. And I'm getting all my stuff here, just so you know, if you want to reference it. OrangeFizz.net put together a great little guide for you, and you can also go to 247 Sports. Obviously, those are the 2 sites that, I mean, if I'm looking up recruiting stuff and I need it now, Orange Fizz in 247 Sports are probably my 2 favorites. So anyway, offers from Air Force, Kent State, Rutgers, and Wisconsin. And also, look, you've got this guy. He's super fast. Right. And he's coming in with Marlo Wax, who's 6 foot, 219, 1,256 ranking, 3-star, 84 overall. All these are according to 247 Sports. Offers from East Carolina, Marshall, Pittsburgh, Kent State, and Temple and Toledo. And this guy is like, they say this combo here between Sean Tucker and Marlo Wax is like speed and strength. So, you've got a guy pushing 200, and then you got a guy that's 6 foot, 220. Basically. So
yeah, and I think this is the running back trend that I think we've seen from Babers from the beginning, right? Is you get these these kind of guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield and are lightning fast, can make plays, like a Jawar Jordan. I mean, we saw what he could do near the end of the year last year versus a Jarvion Howard, a Mo Neal versus an Abdul Adams. And now you see, a Sean Tucker versus a Marlo West, 6 foot 219. That's pretty well put together for a senior in high school.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's be honest here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and when you look at, Tucker, and according to this, the Orange Fizz guide there, that he's reportedly been clocked in at a 4.2840. Now there's probably some discrepancies with that and everything, but either way, if you, even if that's a little wrong, what if that's a 4.34? Are we really? Yeah. So
you're
again, this is a perfect example of the two type of backs that Babers likes to get, and he got a duo this time as well. So
yeah, it's exciting coming in at the same time too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and this is kind of, again, what we're going to expect, right? We're going to have a couple guys that are, that's more like the Lightning and Thunder back in the day, like the Giants had.
Right, exactly.
Bradshaw and
Barber,
and Jacobs, right?
Or Jacobs, yeah. All right, athletic position wide receiver Trevor Penna out of New Jersey, 5'11", 180. 1,457th ranking, 3-star, 84 overall. Offers from Temple Albany Air Force. He's listed as an athlete with ton of speed. He's played running back in high school, but he's a versatile guy. So
yeah, and again, I think it's probably pronounced Pena, but either way,
what'd I say? Penna.
Penna, yeah. It's not.
This is the show. Look. Everybody loves this show.
I like it. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Everybody loves this show, including Joe, because this is where, like as I said, there will be names butchered.
Yes.
Names will die here. Okay, so You'll have to forgive me. Go on, Joe.
So the one thing that excites me here, and again, it's not going to excite some people because, again, it's a guy that doesn't have huge offer sheets, right? He was verbally committed to Temple, and then he flipped from Temple to us. And obviously he's got some versatility, athlete / wide receiver. So again, you're talking running back, slot receiver, probably even some defensive need be. So again, these versatile guys that we can try to fit in where we need for our depth, is kind of, again, it's a trend that we do see with some of these 3-star athlete guys that Babers gets, which I do like because of obviously the versatility and how you can move people around. But also the other thing, and this is something that always kind of catches my eye, and I can give you a couple of examples that past 4 or 5 years, Eric Dungy and God, why can't I think of his name? He was the linebacker last year, turned from safety to linebacker. He graduated last year.
Oh, he did the show too. What the hell was the show called? And I'll be able to tell you his name.
Whitner.
Keelan
Whitner.
Yep.
Dungy and Whitner, they had very similar offer sheets. They had these low level, because he was out west, right? Derek Dungy. So he had like the Wyomings and the stuff, but he also had the Air Forces and the Armies and that kind of stuff. So whenever I see Air Force, Army, those kind of guys, you need to be a certain type of person. If you got our Air Force, Army, Navy, those type of guys, the military service is coming out and offering you, these scholarships, and obviously you have to be open to that to begin with, which tells a lot about your character. So, and again, when you see that kind of stuff, you see the Keelan Winters and the Eric Dungies, you saw the leadership, you saw the maturity, you saw the guys that were team players. And when I see when I see the Army, Air Force, the military schools as some of these guys' top, their top offers, then that always kind of gets me intrigued and excited about what type of not only player but teammate and leader they can be. Yeah.
Damian Alford, wide receiver out of Florida, 6'5", 210, 763rd, 3-star, 86 overall. Offers from Florida, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, West Virginia, Miami, Penn State, and Kentucky, making him one of the most impressive offer sheets that ended up committing to this 2020 class. Also, he actually, I say he's from Florida, but he's a Canadian that moved to Florida before his senior season in high school. So.
Well, yeah, and that probably helped with being able to get him to New York. But again, we we do get the Florida guys. I mean, you know how many? We can throw Javonte Williams, the next guy, in there. He's from Florida as well, 6'1", 196. So he's a little bit of a different wide receiver. But both of them are from Florida. Both of them 3 stars. 6'4", 86 overall, 85. I mean, do you know how many receivers from Florida are 85, 86, like right in the middle of the 3 stars that are right there? So, again, when you look at these guys and you see the offer sheets, the Alfred getting offer sheets from Florida, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, West Virginia, Miami, Penn State, those kind of guys, even Javonte Williams, Oregon, Miami, Indiana, Big Ten schools. So when you see these guys, I mean, I'll take receivers out of Florida all day long because, it's like throwing a dart. You have 5 or 6 of them that are 85, 86 overall. Let's throw a dart and see which one sticks, right? So, again, you never know which ones are going to be good. But, again, I'll always take, middle of the road 3-star athletes from Florida all day long.
All right, just real quick. Javonte Williams out of Florida, like you mentioned, 6'1", 196, 3-star, 85th overall, and you mentioned his offer sheet. Next, we will go to Justin Barron. Now, this is one we've talked about, and a couple of these names are going to be familiar, but we definitely touched on this kid. 6'4", 210, 3-star, 84.3 overall. Boston College offer from Pittsburgh, Air Force, FIU, and Fordham. And apparently the coaching staff is in a squabble, deciding which coaches, the offensive coaches or the defensive coaches, get this guy to play for them. So that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you see next to his name, wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, D-back, then, yeah, it's kind of –
yeah.
I'm sure that they're going to be all fighting for it, but at the end of the day, that Babers is going to put him where he's going to help the team best. And you never know if it's a position early that he can come in and help early, and then maybe, after a few years, maybe get a little bit bigger, stronger, transition to another position. Then, hey, you never know. Again, that's what Whitner did, right? You started out as safety, moved up to linebacker. Who's to say this guy can't start off as receiver, maybe move up to tight end when he gets big enough to maybe block these ACC level defensive ends and linebackers. But overall, I look at his tape. I watch this guy again. I think probably very good character based upon the military school offers, and again, the Boston College and Pittsburgh offers. Those, but when you're talking about our regional rivals, we need to beat those guys out, especially when you're talking about ACC regional rivals. So this is a guy that I think is probably better than his rating, but probably gets a little bit of a negative or some minus points because of where he plays and the competition level that he plays at, being out of Connecticut. But this is one guy I'm definitely excited for. Yeah,
we were excited for him before, and I believe he was on Tyler's show. Just throwing that out there. I'm almost positive. I listened to that. So,
okay.
Tight end, Stephen Marr. Out of Rochester, and it's important to get these guys too. 6'5", 225, 3-star, 86 overall. His ranking was 819th. Offers from Boston College, Buffalo, and UConn. And he is one of the highest rated commits in this cycle. And you've got Aaron Hackett, and he's going to be a senior next year, so maybe someone that can fill the spot for him coming in 2021.
Yeah, well, again, you see that we really don't go that deep when it comes to tight ends. When we look back, Ravion Pierce, good receiving tight end. I don't know how much he helped with the run game, and he did have some bonehead plays and stuff like that. So going back to this year, I think we lost a little bit receiver-wise. Aaron Hackett did surprise and did do well in some spots, but he's going to play the guys that can block. So, again, Benson started getting a little bit of burn in there, and we saw the receiving with him. So as long as we can get these guys, and especially considering that this seems to be a position that we can get around the local area, considering that's, we got the one that obviously he became medically, Gabe Horan last year from Baldwinsville. He became medically disqualified, but again, he's going to come in, and then we won't necessarily need him next year. He's going to be able to bulk up. We're going to have Benson, and we're going to have Hackett, like you said, and so this is a guy that we just got to look forward to in the future. And once Hackett's gone, then hopefully this guy's going to be able to step up just like Benson did and help out and fill that void.
We talked about Maximilian Mang, but we could touch on him here really quick. Tight end, defensive end, 6'7", 230. And like I said, he's got no rating from 247. But I didn't give his size before. So
yeah. Well, I did see in that PPI recruits that he was recently before that. He was marked as a receiver, and you could tell he was a little bit skinnier. So you could tell that maybe he didn't get that offer or get that chance playing the receiver. So it looked like he had bulked up and tried to go the tight end way. So, defense end could always be there prospect wise, but this looks like he's a guy that wants to catch passes, man. So hopefully he should have better than average feet for a big guy playing soccer and stuff like that over there. So again, I just hope that he can come in and he can stick, but there's no doubt there's going to be a learning curve, and I wouldn't expect anything from this guy year one, maybe even year two. So,
offensive guard, D lineman, Josh Aloha. Help me out here.
Yeah, I would say exactly what you said. Okay. There you go.
Okay. Would you say it 3 times though? Or try 3 times? 6'3", 280, 1,845th, 3-star. 83 overall. Offers from ECU, Hawaii, Illinois, Colorado State, James Madison, Kent State. So, offensive line guy. And I'm sure that's probably where they're going to try to stick him if he's any good. So
yeah. Well, they say he's got the athleticism. He's played along all of the line, a little bit of tight end, offensive line, defensive line. So again, this is just a guy that brings him kind of an athletic big man, not a crazy impressive offer sheet. But again, when it comes to 3-stars and stuff like this, most of them aren't ready to come in and help right away. It's how they get bigger, faster, stronger, and how the coaches, how coachable they are, and how the coaches can make them improve and get ready in 1 or 2 years. So this is a guy that gives us that option and depth for optional different positions. So
offensive tackle Garth Barkley. We talked about this guy before from York, Pennsylvania, 6'7", 250. This kid does not look 6'7", 250. I'm just saying.
Hey,
he looks
looks
straight.
can be deceiving, man.
I know. It's crazy. His ranking, 1,147 3-star, 85 overall. UVA, Temple, UMass, Buffalo, Bowling Green in Central Michigan were his other offers there. We did talk about this guy before. We looked at his tape and stuff like that.
Right. He
does not look like he's built like an offensive tackle, but big dude, man. He just does not look that big. I gotta say, it's deceiving.
No, it does. I mean, yes, and again, this is a guy that is going to have to put on weight. He's not going to be able to come in and help us next year. But when you look at his potential, making All-State on offense and defense 2 years in a row from the state of Pennsylvania, I think he was ranked like the 14th best player from the state of Pennsylvania, and they bring out a lot of recruits. So again, this is just a guy that needs to be able to bulk up. Again, he's really good on both sides, but they project him as an offensive tackle. I mean, being 6'7", and I mean, according to Orange Fizz, he jumped recently in the ratings from 81 to 85 from 247 Sports. So that's a pretty big rating jump. And again, this could be one of those guys that 2 years from now we're looking at, a 3-year starter on the offensive tackle.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We talked about Mark Petrie, but I didn't give you his listings here. 6'5", 265, 3-star, 80 overall according to 247. Offers he flipped from Michigan, Eastern Michigan. We talked about that JUCO transfer. So, anything else you want to say about him, or you want to keep it rolling?
No, I mean, I like his size. He's probably an 80 overall based upon the community college he went to and the fact that he's a recruit from Germany. So again, there's a lot of unknowns there, but 6'5", 265, I'll take that.
He is the lowest rated recruit in the class, but I mean, just throwing that out there as an official stat, but that means nothing. James Williams, he is the punter kicker. We talked about him when he verbaled. 6'1", 182, 5th overall punter and the 12th overall kicker in the class. This is the Coles thing. Remember we talked about this, Joe? 82 overall. He had offers from Hawaii and Air Force and Army. Air Force and Army, both after him. That's pretty cool. So this is probably someone that's going to be able to come in right away. Seeing that Sterling's Sterling's out of eligibility, so
right. And
go ahead.
again, too, this also comes down to the fact where a lot of kickers sometimes they can get gray shirted, or they can get preferred walk on, which means basically that they're not guaranteed a scholarship, right? Schools, obviously, we only have so many scholarships that we're allowed to have, and not too many schools like holding 3-4 scholarships because of kickers. So a lot of times, and you've seen it with us, right? I mean, look at our kicker, Schmidt. He was a walk-on, right? So,
yeah.
Right. So, again, you can't really look at the offer sheet when it comes to kickers and stuff like that, because a lot of times the big schools that are interested, the Alabamas, all that, they're the ones that they have interest, but they don't want to give you the scholarship, right? So I think that's one thing that you have seen with Syracuse is that they're willing to go out there and offer those scholarships to these type of kickers because, I mean, let's be honest, not every team needs a kicker or punter every single year, right? So there's a lot of schools that aren't even looking for these type of players. And then if they are, a lot of the big time ones, like Alabama's and Georgia's of the world, they try to use their name to just get them in the door. But, not everyone wants to pay for college. Not everyone doesn't like the whole prospect of not having a guaranteed scholarship. So in this case, this is going to be somebody that comes in and replaces Sterling Hoffrick. They're just fine.
Latari Kinsler, defensive end linebacker, another boy out of Florida, 6'2", 204, 668th ranking, 3-star, 87 overall, offers from Miami, LSU, Oregon, Louisiana, Texas A&M, and Penn State. That's a nice offer sheet right there. Highest rated recruit in the 2020 class, 4-star on some sites, according to orangefizz.net. He committed to Louisville early and then flipped. So, obviously.
Right. And this is obviously the one thing I see here that's kind of showing is you see, 6'2", 204, right? So obviously with being a D end, the guy's athletic, he's disruptive, he's a speed edge rusher, and he's obviously got the frame to grow and obviously build that muscle. And this is one of those things where it reminds me a little bit of Kendall Coleman, where he didn't look like he may have had the size when he first came in, but he came in as a freshman, and because he was so fast and disruptive, it didn't really matter that he didn't have the weight. Now, he did run into some injury concerns because obviously there's a wear and tear, and when you're going against 300-pound offensive linemen from the ACC, then that can get a little, rough. But overall, I mean, you might be looking at one of the guys that's going to be able to help in some type of form or fashion, especially on third down, guaranteed passing downs where you just pin your ears back and go get the quarterback.
Kevin Lemieux, defensive end, 6'4", 235, 1,338th. 3-star, 84 overall, offers from Boston College, Army, Dartmouth, and UConn, Rutgers, the list goes on. Strong side end with great height, 6'4", so it's the same height as Alton Robinson. So,
right, and like looking at this Orange Fizz, like what you were just kind of looking at a little bit, they talk about making the, this is kind of proof that the recruiting services look at this kind of stuff because it's the proof that he can make the leap from Massachusetts ball to D1, right? So there's already these kind of things, and that's what I try to explain to the fans and stuff in previous years when you see these three, kind of middle of the tier, low tier 3-star from the New England area, the Connecticut's, the Delaware's, the Massachusetts and stuff like that. It's a lot of times those players really don't get that much respect because they look at the competition and stuff like that. So again, you just see that just in that sentence right there. So again, I would go with it looking at his offer sheets. Boston College, Army, really only the big ones there. But again, like a normal common 3-star, most likely going to have to redshirt or sit out and take some time to learn the playbook, learn some technique, and get bigger, like Orange Fizz says.
Defensive end, Leon Lowry. We talked about Leon back in the day and his verbal commit days way back when. I don't know, a couple months ago.
Right.
6'3", 205, 1,482nd, 3-star, 84 overall, offers from Indiana, UMass, Rutgers, and Temple.
And again, you look at the measurables, 6'3", 205. So again, that just tells me that he's really fast. He's got a lot of speed coming off the edge. And just looking at the overall and looking at the rating right there between him and Kinsler, that just might be regional. That just might be that recruiting bias that we talked about. So, again, this is another guy just like Kinsler that I'm excited for. But, again, because of the size, it might take a couple years to get to where
he's got
we see
he's
him.
Fast though. They say he's reportedly fast. So, I mean, it helps. Let's see. Robert Hanna, safety, out of Florida again. Miami pulls some serious weight in every year. I mean, like, it's unbelievable. So, anyway, 6 foot 170, 1058th. 3-star, 85th overall, Miami, Louisville, Liberty, Pitt, UCF, USF, and UAB. A lot of U's going on there.
Yeah, you know me.
So, he was also teammates with the one we lost there, Kentron Pointier. Yeah, so
and that's the same high school that Cornelius Nunn, that redshirt freshman from Florida, that's on our team last year. So again, interesting to see Robert Hanna safety, Cornelius Nunn safety. So he's going to come in. Those two right there, they played safety together, probably right next to each other, free safety, strong safety in high school. Yeah. So there's going to be that friendship and that kind of they know how to play. So again, I don't expect this guy to come in and just take over Cisco's job, but there will be a day.
Not at 6 foot 170.
No, well, I'm saying there will be a day, hopefully, that him and Cornelius Nunn are back at starting and being the safety duos that they were in high school.
Yeah, that'd be really cool too to see.
Right.
Another safety, Chase Atkinson, out of South Carolina. And this is the one we talked about. He plans to sign in February. 5'11", 180 pounds, 1,848th, 3-star, 82.8 on his overall. And his only other offer that's listed was Coastal Carolina. So, and he's from the same high school that Robert Braswell finished his high school career.
So, is that why he's waiting?
I don't know. Joe's been on the transfer portal with Robert Braswell for some time now. So
no,
it is a little suspect.
Not going there.
It is a little suspect.
Look, all right, we already talked about him. We can talk about him when he signs. How about that?
Okay,
On to the next one.
We talked about him. We talked. Another safety, Ben LaBrose. Talked about him back in the day. 6 foot 200 pounds, 1,052nd, 3-star, 85th overall, and he had no reported offers because he's from Canada. So, unranked and unknown, could be a hidden gem, as Orange Fizz tends to speculate at here in their little write up. Joe, what do you think?
Well, again, these are the hidden type gem guys because again, a lot of times you have the recruiting services with all the stars and all the guys that that these recruiting services have ranked and have seen at camps and have seen because they play high level football in high school and in the country. So when you see the not rated, when we get these commits, it's not that he's not good enough to be ranked. It's that the recruiting services haven't ranked them yet. So when he first committed, he was not rated. I remember looking at his tape. I was very impressed. But again, from Montreal, Quebec, the competition level and everything, and just being Canada, a lot of times they're really not looked at that often. So as soon as they get signed like that, then these recruiting services, they go and they do their homework. They actually go and they recruit this person or this player, and then they get him in the system. And I mean, he just dropped recently. He slipped from 87 to an 85 because these recruiting services, I don't know if it's like an annual or semi-annual or quarter, but they make changes to their ratings throughout the season. So he slipped from an 87 to an 85. But what that tells me is that he wasn't rated. 247 Sports went and rated to recruit him and rated him at an 87, which is almost, a 4-star, high 3-star. So again, he had no other offers. We got his commit, and then when the recruiting services go and see that they have him rated smack dab 85, right in the middle of a mid to high tier 3-star, and that is kind of the definition of a hidden gem because nobody was really on him.
Right. Linebacker / athletic, position. Stefan Thompson, 6 foot 222, ranks 1,343rd. He's a 3-star, 84 overall. Offers from Wisconsin, Akron, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, and Charlotte. Not a great offer sheet, but good speed for its size, as listed here by Orange Fizz, and will almost certainly play linebacker eventually.
Right. And again, I'll take that. I like that Wisconsin. Now, you're talking about a linebacker that gets an offer from Wisconsin, and I'll take that every day of the week. Looks a little short, but I mean, we've had those type of guys, right? Zaire Franklin, he was only 6 foot, right? Lakeem Williams last year wasn't really that tall, but he was a speedster, and you could see it all over the field. This is another guy that just out of the new ranks. The last rankings that 247 Sports put up, he jumped from an 81 to an 84. So again, this is another guy that his rankings improved since we've got the verbal commit. So
Christian Villeneuve, quarterback. This was a 2020 target at first, but it's been reclassified to 2021. So we're going to hold off on that, and we'll save it.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the guy's a 4-star. I'm assuming that this is going to be one of our priority targets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know that he's already got a great offer sheet. He's already a 4-star, and being in high school one more year is probably only going to raise that. So
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, we can only hope, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, no, I don't hope it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, though.
I'm saying we can only hope that we get him. I guess is really what I meant to say.
I know. Ranks 241st, 4-star, 90 overall. I mean, yeah, man. That's
that's the guy, right? So maybe
this year.
Maybe he reclassifies just because it's another year for Tommy DeVito. So he comes in only 1 year, then DeVito's gone, and it maximizes the amount of time that he has, right? A lot of times that's kind of what we see right now in the spectrum of NCAA and college football is if you're not starting, you're transferring to go somewhere so you can.
Exactly. So that will wrap it up. I think that's it. If I missed one, you can always write to us at cusemilitia@gmail.com.
I think we got them all. 3 stars.
I think we got them all. So that's going to wrap it up for us for this episode. Syracuse plays Niagara this weekend. We'll be back, hopefully.
No, soon.
I think it's pretty safe to say we should be back Sunday. I don't think that's an issue.
We should be.
Okay.
We should
so
be. And just to throw it out there, too, this isn't all a signing day. They talked about February. February 6th is the actual end of the signing day, so do look to – there's going to be news. I wouldn't be surprised if Papers does go out there, get maybe some graduate transfers to fill some holes in some certain positions that he might see as far as of need of depth, and that could be a backup quarterback as well, just kind of like what we did with Clayton Welch. So be on the lookout for that because I know that this is our early signing day show, but there is still going to be news to come.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of news, and the football thing it never stops.
Hey man, look, we're not playing. We're one game away from playing in a bowl game, right?
I know.
And I'm sitting here watching all these bowls, and then early signing day comes up. So hey, we gotta have a show to kind of still talk about our team while the bowls are still going on, and kind of talk about the positive for the future, and kind of put a seal on what this season was, right? So
exactly. So. I mean, it's good when people were emailing and DMing us about doing this show anyway. So
you have Tyler on. We've had Tyler on a couple of times. Had him on to talk about that. So we've had his input and his thoughts about the season throughout the season. So kind of had him on quarterly if you want to talk about the schedule. So.
We kind of did. So
and the only reason we didn't have him on this is because he openly admits that he doesn't follow the recruiting aspect of it, so this would just be
if I was letting Tyler and Joe talk about each recruit, I mean this could go for 2 hours, and I know I don't want to put anybody through that. So I'm doing everybody,
especially yourself, right?
Yeah, especially me. Exactly. I'm doing us all a favor. Look, I want to thank Blue Chew. Go to bluechew.com right now. Enter the promo code Armchair. Just pay the $5 and get. Just pay the $5 shipping. Get the rest of it for free. After that, after the $5, it's free. Okay. It's like when you buy
Yep.
it's like when you buy a new Ford F-150 after, the 60 grand, it's free after that. I want to thank MyBookie. Just go to mybookie.ag, enter the promo code CHAIR, and they will match you dollar for dollar up to $1,000. Thank you to Tyler. Thank you to all of you for listening. It's been a great year. I think we will have one more episode this year, if my math is correct. But you'll have to hear me say that again. Thanks to James on guitar. For Joe, I'm Sean. We are out.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.